Hello and welcome to another episode of the Under the Pines podcast. I'm your host, Max Manuel, and today's episode is with Akram Hamam, another humble, great human being navigating his way through this world and at the same time not forgetting the people less fortunate than us and investing time and resources into charity work and giving back. So, yeah, let's jump right in. Thank you, first of all, since I know you usually only do face-to-face interviews, and so thank you for trusting me with this conversation and for taking the time. And I think you're in Amsterdam right now. I think you also grew up there. How was that growing up for you? Because you have a mixed background. I also have a mixed background, so that kind of interests me. For starters, how was that for you? In your early years.
Uh, Pretty interesting, I'd say. I think there's when you're younger, you don't see the big advantage of having a foreign background growing up in a well, for me, Holland is my country, but for my parents, Egypt is their country, and I am Egyptian. So when you're younger, I think you are more busy with how to fit in instead of being your authentic self. And now,
Yeah.
the older you grow and the older you get, it's you know that it's all about being yourself and authentic self and carrying your ethnicity with pride, your religion with pride, where you come from with pride. And it actually has major advantages nowadays that I grew up speaking three languages. So I was like Dutch because I'm born and raised here, learned English in the English international school, and Arabic because of my parents and the background, obviously. So I think now when you grow older, there's a huge advantage. Hence why I worked a lot in the Middle East and lived in Cairo, or living in Cairo now. Made the switch from Amsterdam to Cairo last year. And but when you're younger, it's like you always try to be different and be accepted, right? And then you kind of like ashamed maybe for where you come from because you think this is not the way that the Dutch people like it or know it, or your friends and whatever. And I remember a couple times I felt ashamed because I'm Arab Egyptian, but it was mainly because I really wanted to fit in into my Dutch friends in the community, and also faced quite some discrimination things when I was younger, which obviously, it's not easy as a kid, but you learn how to grow, you learn how to live with it, and you become stronger. And nowadays it became like a super advantage, which before I thought would be a major disadvantage. Now it became actually like a blessing instead of a burden.
Mm. You think that that's where the drive to build stuff comes from?
Yeah, I was actually having this conversation with a friend of mine today. That we both come from almost same kind of like background, where our both of our mothers have a very stable income. They both work at the embassy. They know each other for years, and I'm 3 days older than his little brother, and so we grew up together, and he's 3 years older than me. And our fathers, were always entrepreneurs and always working, always doing something in construction, but their own thing, or having restaurants. And I think when you see your parents at a young age, like I'm not saying like struggling, but like working hard and trying to make the best out of everything, and providing in the best way possible. But my mother always had the stable job. My father was always like the entrepreneurial person, and I think because of this, you try to get the best of both from both of them. So I really love the fact that I am doing what I can, what I want because of them. They gave me the opportunity to discover, to see what interests me, and my mother always helped me with and giving me my first loan to organize events, supporting me. And my dad would always be like trying to tell me how to do it or something, and I think, yeah, when you're young and you see your parents work hard, especially my father. I was working in his construction company when I was young as well, doing the finance and the inventory, and I knew the I know how hard you have to work to make a buck, let's say, and what kind of responsibilities it brings when you start for yourself. And this is obviously like a major, I think, a major advantage for young entrepreneurs or people like me, that you're surrounded with entrepreneurs, and you come from a family that has always tried to find a solution, let's say.
Yeah. Yeah, I can agree with this. I usually also had like same friends from that same background, always mixed usually, and always trying stuff out and testing and failing. And yeah, in Germany, I think it's a bit different in Holland, because in Holland, at least from my experience, it's a bit more normal to fail, and like, it's kind of not frowned upon. Like in Germany, if you fail, people people like laugh at you, and then they kind of step on top of you again, and oftentimes, but there's also good people. And um but like, I also feel like you have a good understanding of geopolitics. And do you also think that's because of your mixed background? Because like, from my experience, it's usually us that kind of come from two ends, that have this more natural understanding of what goes on in the background.
Yeah, I think there's also like, I think, a major advantage of
Yeah.
having, I would say, like two nationalities. Really living and growing up in Holland, understanding the Dutch. Like I'm very Dutch in my way of doing business and thinking, and
Mm.
but I'm very warm in my Arabic way. Let's say I'm very welcome, very generous. I'm not saying like Dutch people aren't generous, but I mean, like in Arabic culture, it's very open. Everyone's very open, very warm, very giving. But I feel nowadays there's a perfect mix. But when you're young, you see so many different things from different perspectives. And I think I also went to an international school when my high school, and I think I was in a class with like 20 different nationalities or something, probably even more, like my whole year. But my class alone was, I think, like 20 plus, probably, for sure. So you learn a lot from all different kind of backgrounds and accepting people how they are, because you're with people in the class from all different parts of the world, and different religions, and different values and beliefs. And I think once you really learn how to cope with all this, it's very easy to understand that at the end of the day, we're all human. At the end of the day, we all want to be loved. We all want to serve. We all want to be happy, especially when you're kids. All you want to do is just play and be happy and have fun and enjoy. And then the older you get, there's more goals and more responsibilities. But it doesn't matter if you're Asian, African, European, North American, or South American, or Asia Pacific, to name all seven continents. But it doesn't matter where you're from, and that's when you at least have such a better view on different perspectives of where people come from. Because I remember back in the days, there's always been conflicts in the world, and there was always some part in the world where a friend of mine would feel bad because there was a conflict in their country or their region, or in you learn how to cope and understand the different point of views. Like even back in the days, I remember there were things going on with India and Pakistan, still probably today, right? But I'm talking like 20 years ago, and like we had friends in my class that were Pakistani or Indian, and they're kind of like fighting over nothing, and then also trying to explain and prove their point. But at the end of the day, you're always right if that's what you believe is the right
Mm.
part, right? If you only get information from one point of view or from one source, and you truly believe this is the truth, you actually believe it's the truth. But if you don't see it from the other side, it's more like you don't understand or try to understand the other person, and to see it from a different perspective. And I think this is now the main issues in the world, is people only see it from their perspective and for how it will benefit them, instead of how it will benefit us and humanity. But yeah, you learn a lot, I think, from young age. I don't like, we don't have to jump in or deep in the Gaza Israel situation, and like even Ukraine, Russia. There's so many things in the world right now happening where If you only look at it from one side, then every side is always right. But the main question is who's right. And I think this is like perspective, and the way you change your perspective is by talking, having conversations, and doing a lot of research, talking really with the people how they feel and why they have a certain type of perspective like this. I think this is for me always like the most important thing, like how I want to I want to see why someone is thinking in a certain way and why they think it's the way it is. And once you understand that part, you understand how someone thinks and what they feel, what their objectives are, and how you can either relate or don't relate. And I think this is like the most important thing in looking it up from different perspectives.
Yeah, for sure. Oftentimes, it's not even their own perception of reality, right? It's that that knowledge, that apparent knowledge that they've been fed, by news, by the media.
Yeah,
Because in the end,
indoctrination. Yeah,
right, like in the end, it's like you touched upon before, right? Open doors, come in for coffee, right? It's normal in the Arab world. It's also normal here, right? And in Croatia or in the Balkans, right? If there's a traveler and just invite them in. It used to be normal. And I think in the end, we're all humans, just like you said, and we're kind of eye to eye, but we have all these this magic that's been going on, through these different channels, and we grew up with this, and it's also been, the thing that I recognize here and with my family, between the Croatians and the Serbs and all that kind of stuff, right? It's with the older generation, it's still present, very much present. That old way of thinking that it's their fault that this happened and they were the first to throw the stone and all that kind of stuff, right? But if you take the bird's eye view, if you understand how geopolitics work, how false flag operations work, and all that kind of stuff, then all of a sudden it looks very much you know different in the end.
correct.
So, right, how's that? Because you kind of want to be the bridge between the Western world and the Arab world. You said that in a previous conversation. Is that like your heart project now with the new asset management company that you're working on? And if you want to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, the asset management company is actually an interesting thing because well, most of my friends they're involved in crypto. They invested at least in crypto. Not many people, in my opinion, make a lot of money with crypto because they buy and hold and then they barely sell. And I realized with my current partner Arash, he's been trading stocks and trading crypto for a very long time. He has a very good contact in IPOs, and we started off working together since about 2.5 years ago. I invested with him in him actually because he was doing it on his own, and a year and a half ago, the results were pretty good. So I thought, you know what, I think we can do it on a bigger scale, better level, be more professional in a way, have it like a certain brand, and make it like a proper company and setup. And yeah, long story short, a year later, we've been doing really good numbers, very happy with how things are going, and we're actually making it very accessible for people how to invest in stocks and crypto and IPOs. And that part, many people do only one thing, I would say, or none. So some people that I speak to, they invest in stocks and they're busy with stocks, but then their knowledge doesn't really grow to crypto, or they don't have a contact for IPOs. So and it's also pretty hard to invest in a good IPO because there's hundreds or thousands of IPOs a day. I don't know the exact number, but um, if you want to be like investing in a serious IPO, it means that you have to have a pretty big ticket size. Not everybody, for example, can invest 1 million or 5 million, but together we can, and then we can all benefit. So the idea was really making it accessible for people. I used to live in Dubai for about 2.5 years, in and out. And yeah, I would say I met a lot of people there. I think also, like what we talked about earlier, it was really easy for me to bridge the gap because I understand the Arab way of thinking. I speak their language. I speak our language actually, and they can relate to someone Arabic. But I think it was a really good. For them it was nice to see that there's like this Egyptian Dutch guy who grew up in The Hague and Amsterdam, moving to the Middle East, understanding European way of thinking, understanding Arab way of thinking, and really bridging the gap between mentality and people. And now I've been really focusing on, really building the bridge. So I want to see how I can help, like projects with investment, let's say from Middle East into Europe or the other way around, or connect people that want to go to the Middle East, because there's many brands in ecom that want to go tap into the Middle East market. There's many people that are very fascinated by what's going on in the Middle East. It's an economic powerhouse. So in that sense, a lot of people don't know where to start. There's a lot of people that are trying to find their luck in Dubai, and nowadays, obviously, and it's not easy to get into the right circles, because I believe the circles everywhere is the same. So there's the top is really it's really small, right? So let's say you want to connect to the right people in Dubai. It's not easy to connect with the right people in Dubai, but with the right person, which I want to be, or which I am to a lot of people, I give them access to the right people. So I give them access to the right circles, trusted circles, most important, and then it's pretty easy for people to scale their project to invest in Dubai real estate, for example, or the other way around, that people from the Middle East are looking into projects in Egypt, for example. And it all starts with trust, by giving. And once you give them access, that's when it becomes easier to build a bridge. And especially nowadays, I see a lot of movement from Asian markets, like the capital moving to Middle East. So nowadays, I also try to see like how can I become a bridge between Asian investors and Middle East investors, mergers and acquisitions, proper investments, Series A, Series Bs, how I can facilitate the projects from A to Z, or just by making an introduction. And that all started because of the asset management company, because people thought, okay, yeah, with Akie, with his asset management company, like I can invest and make proper returns. And with your asset management company, it's very easy to reach out to investors. But for me, it's not like, I don't want an investor to just invest, let's say, a fixed amount or in the asset management company. I want to know the investor. I want to see what drives this person. I think it's really important that the investor is convinced that we are the right party or company to invest in for him. And I don't want just anybody's money. Of course, the more money we have under management, the more money we would make. But for me, it's not only about making money. It's about, hey, where else can I help the current investors as well? Is someone looking for other opportunities? Maybe I can facilitate the opportunities. Once you understand someone's goal and how someone is as a person, also on a personal level, you know what drives them. And for most investors, I'd say like 90% of the people that invested in the fund, I've learned so much by just having a conversation with them. And every investor is different, and every person's objective is different. Their end goal is to live a good life. So what do we all have in common? We all want to live a good life. We all want a nice car or a nice house, or go on holiday a couple times a year, be free. I think this is the most important thing. But once I understand certain investors know more what they do, I can maybe connect them with each other. I can help them reach their goals more, or even take a cut of a deal I facilitate for them, because I know exactly what they're interested in. And I think this is like the I would say the most important or the most fun part about running an asset management company is not making money. It's about really getting to know people and having all these conversations. Because in the last year, I've had more than 200 conversations with investors, where I learned so much in just really just listening to them, and be like, man, it's so fascinating that you're making money in a certain way. And in some situations, I didn't even know there was money to be made in a certain industry. And
Mm.
here it is, someone's making money with a very simple product, and or became very successful in a niche where yeah, if you're not in that industry, you're not in that niche, you don't know there's money to be made there. And for them, it's the same. He wants to diversify his investments and his portfolio, and that's, I think, the end common goal is to reach something together.
Yeah, beautiful. That's also something that I love about the podcast, just like learning from people. I don't like I started this pretty much a year ago and it's not making any money, but it's that value that I get is already paying off like greatly. So yeah, it's a no-brainer for me either. And so you talked about wrong investors. I assume you want less headaches, right? Because obviously when when you have the wrong people investing in the
Yeah,
fund,
well,
it just creates headaches because I think you talked about that as well before. How's
yeah,
that?
I think the
Yeah,
most important thing with investors is, look, it's not a win for us if someone invests. It's a very big responsibility, right? Because someone is trusting us with their money. So let's say someone invests 100K. It's not like, oh yes, we made 100K. Actually, it's we have to make sure there is a return for this person. And if we lose even 10K or even 5K or 1K, we have to go up to this person and it's kind of like a puppy, going back, hey, sorry, we lost your money. And then it's when you lose someone's money, you basically lose someone's trust, because
yeah, it's like a snowball.
it's a snowball. So
Yeah,
it's actually very stressful to accept money and to be responsible for someone's capital. So yeah, it's also that we've had investors, the wrong investors, where we knew the money wasn't clean. So we just said, you know what, you're not our type of investor, because we don't want, obviously, like with any anti money laundering or be this kind of person or company. And I think the most important thing is we don't want any headache for ourselves, right? Because at the end,
sure.
there's actually this theory we have in our company, which is called the headache per euro theory. So you want as less possible headache and make as much possible money. And sometimes it's the other way around, and that's, I think, the worst spot you can be in, where you have a lot of headache and you're not making much money. And in certain situations, you know that certain type of investors, they can just cause you a lot of headache just because they can either be nagging, they want to have a say in the investments. And we've had people even calling us, oh, did you see what happened with the stocks and with crypto, and it's going down? And we're like, yeah, we saw. Yeah, but aren't you supposed to sell? I'm like, bro, listen, we know what we're doing. We have our stop losses, and we have, my partner is an amazing trader, and we know our shit. We don't want to be receiving calls from people on a daily basis or whatever, telling us what to do. But we make it very clear up front, for example, that this is how it is. And actually, most of our investors, they're the most chill people ever. And I think this is for us also very important because, again, we learn a lot from people's character, but from their business, how they are. And as you say with your podcast, you learn so many things by just having these conversations. But you only want to have a good feeling, I'd say, from the people you work with. I don't want to be working with people that I don't want to speak to, or I hate it when they call me, and then I'd rather not accept the money, because I know if someone's going to be like major headache and I don't want to pick up, I'm just going to be like, hey, let's let's just keep it how it is, and it's not a match, and that's also fine.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. If you look at money from a spiritual perspective, like, do you feel like, like, let's say dirty money or not clean money could infect the rest of the fund? Is that something that you think about?
Yeah, 100%. I um, I believe that, like, there's actually a saying, that for every euro or every dollar you make black or not clean, you're going to pay $3 back, white ones. So let's
Hmm.
say, hard earned money. So let's say you make money with, let's keep it easy, with drugs or something, right? So you made $100 from this drug deal, and sooner or later, you don't know when, karma works in crazy ways.
Mysterious
The
ways.
universe works in magical ways, I would say, unexpected ways,
Yeah.
where something's going to happen where you're going to pay three hard-earned money back to
Mm.
whatever. Your car might break down. You might get a fine. Something will happen to your home or whatever. So it's like a Muslim. I believe it's very important to make money in like a halal way, as we say, and not in a haram way. So the more haram money you make, the more halal effort money you're going to pay back. And at the end, even if you try to cheat the system, you can't beat the system. You know, it's the system is there, and the universe is here, the world is here. I think people in general, they feel more satisfied when they make money with their hard-earned money. At least I do. Some people are different, I'm sure, but
Sure.
at the end of the day, it's very important the way you make money because it gives peace of mind. And I think everybody can make money with in a unlawful haram way, but we all know it's not the way to make money, right?
Yeah,
So there's a reason why we don't we're not all drug dealers, because it brings risk, and we know that it's not fulfilling, and people are also it's not a good product, because at the end I only want to create a win-win-win situation. So um, for example, a win-win situation is a win for me and a win for the other person, but also the product that you sell or the service that you do needs to be like a positive product. So not that we're both getting better, but actually the product that we're selling, maybe the end consumer will be negatively affected from it. So yeah, I think that's, in my opinion, I think way more important than how much money you make. It's the way you make money.
for sure. Yeah, we also talked about trust, and I'm the same. You probably got fucked over plenty of times, me as well, and it just happens. And people often ask me like, how do you still have that ability to trust people? And I'm like, well, just exactly what we just said. It's always going to come back to them. Like, if they want to play that game, like it's their choice, right? I'm gonna keep doing it in a positive way, and trying to work with people that deserve my time. And I think it's a good way to go. But like, is that also you know basically your ability to trust people never kind of went away through those, even though you had those experiences? Was that always still, what were you fighting to get that back? Like, want to talk about that?
Like how I trust people if they fuck me over, or what do you
No,
mean?
but how you, yeah, if you ever had like after, if you had problems getting back into that mindset, that people are to be trusted, and or if you always said, okay, it's karma, I don't really care, it's their choice.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of people have done me wrong. Also from the industry, I've got fucked over quite a couple times by affiliate managers or affiliate network owners, even money wise. By someone who was in consulting that didn't deliver, but made me pay in the end. Wanting to go to court, all these kind of things. I actually went to court with someone who really fucked me over for a couple hundred grand, and I ended up having to pay. But I remember we were in court, and I just thought to myself, I hope this person finds peace in his life one day, because he is maybe good for 50, 60 million, and he was trying to fuck me over for, I think it was like 150, 160 grand or something. And I was like, how sad can you be
Yeah,
to go after someone who doesn't have much, and he's super successful, and I was like, literally, instead of becoming mad, I was just like, I really, from the bottom of my heart, hope he finds inner peace one day. And I told him this, not in court, I told him this later. I just said to him, man, and I hope from the bottom of my heart that you find inner peace. And for me, it's more like, who am I to get back to someone? If I get back to someone, let's say in a unlawful way, fighting, whatever, harassing or whatever, right? It's not going to make the situation better. It's only going to be more negative energy.
yeah,
I accepted the situation how it is. I think the most important thing is move on as fast as possible. It's not always easy. I've really had a really hard time for about 3, 4 years, paying him back, getting into more troubles. But you always find a solution in the end if there's no other way. And I just kept thinking, I'm thankful it's not a million. He could have fucked me over for a million. It was only a couple hundred grand, you know?
Mm.
And I think when you get into a mindset of gratefulness, trying to learn a lesson, how hard the situation might be, it's it's okay, man. Like at the end of the day, these people will fight themselves, like the inner battle internally. And in Islam, like who are we to judge and who are we to get back to someone? Because we believe in the day of judgment. So in the day of judgment is like this person will experience hellfire, will experience hell, will experience negative things maybe in our life because karma, as we just talked about,
Yeah.
comes in unexpected ways. Maybe not this year, maybe not next year, maybe in 10 years. And I think this is the most important thing. And I think for me personally, it's like I actually once saw the devil and experienced hellfire, like in a visual way, where ever since I had experienced this, I never want to do someone wrong again in my life. Like I've felt so much pain for these couple seconds. Really had a visual of seeing the devil, where I knew shit's real, you know. And the crazy part about this is once you know it's real, you never want to go back there again. Because as we say in Arabic as well, um, like we say we are not even one grain of sand in a desert. That's what we are for the universe,
Mm.
like in the universe. So we as we
Yeah.
as humans are not even not even as one grain of sand in the desert. That's how big the
Mm.
universe is. That's how small we are.
Yeah.
But with hellfire, it says, imagine you burn in hellfire for eternity. So if we cannot even see how big the universe is, how far it expands, how far it is, how big it is, imagine being in hell for eternity. Because if you can see how far something is, you can calculate. Okay, it's 1 hour drive, it's 2 hour drive. That's our how we calculate it nowadays, right? But imagine
Mm.
we cannot even see the end of the universe. So what does eternity mean? So once you realize this part, it's more like, man,
It's not worth it.
it's not worth it. And
Yeah.
maybe look, we're all humans. I might do someone wrong. I probably will do someone wrong, right? But I'm not an angel. Um, but I think it's all about the intention. At the end of the day, it's like, how do you make up to someone? Did you hurt someone on purpose? Did you fuck someone over on purpose? Did you steal money or something? Right? If you do things on purpose, I think this is like the real bad part about um, yeah, about living life. But if things happen unconsciously and you can make up to it and you're conscious that you did someone wrong or you said something wrong, and then at the end you can be emotional and say something bad to someone or hurt someone, but at least afterwards apologize or something, right? Because at the
Mm.
end of the day, we're all, like, everyone goes through good periods or struggles.
Sure.
Even the biggest superstars in the world struggles, or most famous people. It's not like the richer you are, the less struggles you have. That's what many people sometimes think, or that the more successful you are, that less issues you have mentally. But we all struggle, and we all might do someone wrong. And the most important thing is, again, like how do you fix it, or how do you cope with the situation? And once you understand that part, I think people are way more forgiving, and people will accept the fact that you're also human. But sometimes you have to make up for what you've done wrong, and just go back and say, hey, I fucked up, I'm sorry. And we all fuck up sometimes, right? We've all
Oh yeah.
been young, you've all made mistakes. And it's the most
All the
important thing
time.
is that you learn from it and not do it again.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, when you have kids, it happens more often. Because you just kind of, in a small way, you have a wrong reaction. And you see the mirror right away with your child because maybe he's sad because of it, or angry, and you get the answer right away. But I want to ask you, where did you see that devil? If you want to talk about that situation, how did that come about?
Uh, I had a dream,
Hmm.
and it was so real. And it's like I tried lucid dreaming. You know what lucid dreaming is? Like
Yeah,
you.
yeah, of course.
So with lucid dreaming, it's like you fall asleep and then you set an alarm and you wake up and then you can control your dreams and you kind of like it's kind of like a you can it's kind of like an inception, right? You walk, you can control your dream, which is very interesting because it's very hardcore, I would say. And at one moment, I fell asleep and I thought I was going to die. And at that moment, I saw the devil come inside, and like you kind of like see yourself going out like in the lucid dream, right? So it's hard to explain, but you see yourself walking and you see your body and whatever. And at that moment, I thought, okay, I'm gonna die. I'm gonna go to hell, and I experienced hellfire. I saw the devil, and I was like, damn, this is it. And just within, it felt like a couple seconds at least. A couple seconds later, I was out of it, and it was probably the best experience I've had in my life because
Hmm.
you yeah, you really understand that we live in a very unconscious way of living in general. So I'm Egyptian. I know back in the days, the pharaohs, they're very spiritual. The pyramids were built, and we still don't know how, but it's very connected to the stars, many gods. There has been so much energy in or vibrations and frequency back in the days that they all know that you can heal spiritually, or also you have Reiki. There's so many energy fields in the world where how do I explain this best way? Um, I just felt like at one moment, okay, there's so much more in life than just the way we live, and we I'm the same still. It's not like I'm just awakened spiritual human being or something, but I can definitely say that I became much more conscious and much more calm, much more in peace with myself, with actions and things that I've been doing in the past that I wouldn't do in the future. And it's because I know and I felt that there are different things and different um, I'd say different worlds or something. You know, there's
Yeah,
different
different realms. Yeah,
yes,
different
and
timelines happening at
different
the same time.
timelines exactly, and there's different realities, and there's different levels of consciousness. There's different levels of frequency, and I think
Yeah,
this part, once you really go deeper in it, there's only one thing you want to do, and that's give and be at peace and feel love and give love, and you also accept things more how they are instead of trying to fix all the situations. And that doesn't mean that you just let life pass by with not making a proper decision or taking action. It's you make your decisions way more consciously, and you also attract, in my opinion, way more what you're meant to be feeling or wanting to do. Because now I'd say I'm very aligned with all my goals in life, and I'm still working on my goals in life, and I have many other goals that I'm still not working on. But the more I feel it, and it's really like manifesting, speaking out loud. Things come your way, as we said before, in magical ways, because that's just how the universe works. And once you understand that there are different realities, that's when you can create in different realities. Because back in the days, people used to always tell me, like, Aki, you're like a jack of all trades, master of none. You're always doing so many different things. And I I always thought it was like a burden. Everyone would
mm.
make me believe, oh yeah, man, I really have to do one thing only. And for years I didn't feel comfortable. For years I was just like, oh yeah, shit, what's yeah, maybe I should just get a job. Maybe I should get a corporate job first. Maybe I should do this and finish. I never finished college. Maybe I should finish college or whatever, right? But the older I get, the more I realize it's actually the biggest blessing of my life. I understand people. I'm able to create in different realities because I've been living in different realities. I've been working in different industries. I've been having so many conversations. As you know, I run a big event management company where I've organized events in more than 40 countries. I think in the last 8 years, more than 150 events. I don't know the exact number, but when you see so many people on a continuous basis, you understand people so much faster. You understand just from one look in their eyes, you can know how a person is by the way someone dresses, by the way someone behaves, the glasses they wear, the shoes they wear, the way they walk, the way they talk. There's so many different things that now instantly I can be like, okay, this is how a person is. But because of this, I realize I'm not a jack of all trades, master of none. I'm actually very good with people and reading and reading the situation, controlling the situation. Manipulating is not a bad way. People really associate manipulating in a negative way because that's how we learned from. That's how we learned what manipulation is. But manipulation can also be like you're walking in a room and everybody's happy. That's also because you actually manipulate the energy of the whole room. Um, let's say you're mad and everyone's quiet in the room because you're mad. It's also manipulating because at
Yeah.
that moment everyone's like, oh shit, Max is mad, it's better for me just to shut up, right? But that means that your energy, your presence is so strong in a negative way, but this can also be in a positive way. I try to always make it in the most positive way. Why do people like to come to my events? Because hey, they know it's going to be good vibe, they're going to be good
Mm.
people. I always try and help them with introductions. I think most far like from a Philly Business Club point of view with the ABC events, and they know that the energy in the room is always going to be good. So for me, it's also about controlling the energy, persevering the energy of the event, of the room, making sure people feel loved, comfortable, heard. What is someone looking for? I'm always busy with trying to see what someone needs, listen as much as possible. I don't really care to talk much about me when I'm having a conversation with someone at my events because they already know me. They know my events. They know what I'm good at. They know that I know a lot of people. So for me, it's important what kind of feeling and experience does do I give someone? Why does someone want to come back? They'll come back if I help them. They'll come back if they have a good experience. They come back if they love the event and met good people, right? So the more conversation I have, the more I help people, the more I understand someone else, the more I can facilitate what someone's needing. And this is, I think, also what we talked about. That
Mm.
when you have had, I, I probably have more than 1,000 conversations, maybe 5,000 conversations a year with people, just what someone's doing. Because at my events, it's like, bro, constantly. And sometimes I
Yeah.
still remember things from back in the days. Like 5 years ago, I remember someone's dog was sick. And last year I was like, hey, how's your dog doing? It's like, yeah, I passed away. It's like, bro, how do you remember? I said, I don't know. It's like, it impressed me so much. Like, it impressed me in a way that was like, the fact that he's talking about that his dog is sick at a business event, it must mean something to him.
Mm.
But as soon as I saw him, I was like, oh shit, oh yeah, last time we talked, he was talking about his dog. But this guy still is like, bro, I can't believe you remember this. I'm like, I don't know either, but it really hit me. And this is like the
Yeah,
things
because you
that,
care.
yeah, because yeah, I do care.
Yeah.
And at least
Yeah.
you feel someone's emotion when they talk. It's not like, oh yeah, we're doing great. And if it's like too much small talk, then probably you like we all forget the conversations, right? But when it's something that I also care about, I love dogs. Um, and he said it with so much pain in his voice or like hesitation, or
Mm.
it probably stuck into my mind. And then when I saw him again, I was like, bro, this was before COVID when he told me. And I saw him last year. I was like, man, it's insane that we're having this conversation and he's still up until today. It's like, bro, man, I still can't believe. I told my wife, I'm like, bro, it's funny. It's funny, but it's not like it's funny that he's telling his wife that I remember, but not that his dog died, obviously.
Yeah, no, I get
But
it.
I think this is like the real value, what you can give, right?
Yeah.
And to get back, it's like, yeah, jack of all trades, master of none. It's more like
Yeah, I don't believe that's
once
true.
Yeah, now I know I'm good at really one thing, and it's connecting people and networking, connecting different people with each other. Hence why we're talking earlier, like bridging the gap between the Middle East and Asia and Europe. Also, US started off, and also with the asset management company. It's for me, it's like one of the most
Mm,
important thing is like ABC, Affiliate Business Club was the it's probably my biggest success story in my life. I didn't make the most money because of ABC, but I built the biggest network you can imagine, and in just a few years' time. And also how we know each other. Like we know each other through affiliate marketing industry. Like people know me because of events, and you bring people together. I think this is like
yeah,
the biggest win in the end.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, it just shows in the end, right? If someone really cares and if you have the conversation just so you, because you have to have it, or if you're actually interested in what the person has to say. And on this podcast, like people tell me stuff that they've never said to anyone before. And I think that's also one of the reasons, right? Because they feel like they can tell me stuff. And, obviously that's not going to stay between us, but, you know, it's still someone that cares about, the content that you like to share. Um, yeah, but there was a lot of things that I wanted to pick up on. But let's talk about your charity a bit, because
Sure.
I, that's like stuff that's, a lot of people when they make money, then they look for charity things to get tax benefits and all that kind of stuff. But I know for you, it's like a more personal story, and it seems like it works, right? Because I've looked into it a little bit. But if you want to just share where that journey started, why you came up with the idea, and what
Sure.
the status quo is, let's say.
Yeah, the now cleanup, it really came from a I'll say like I said, I'm Egyptian. I've always been going back to Egypt since I was small for many times a year, always during holidays, and spent summers or winters there with my family. And there you see one major difference, and that's the difference between rich and poor in Egypt is immense. I'm not talking money wise, but the way of living, how the streets are. So some parts in Cairo, they're just super dirty, man. Like there's trash all over on the streets. And all floating, flying around. And in some parts, it's like it's as clean as Holland. Like in Holland, like just like Germany, probably, right? You find maybe a can on the street or a paper, but not like a pile of trash on the corner, right? And in Egypt, it was something like this. So it always stuck in my mind that you just become very conscious, like, shit, why is it like this? Then last year, I actually, about 2 years ago, I had this idea. It had been going through my mind for almost like a couple months, 6, 7 months. I went to the World Climate Summit, which was in Sharm el Sheikh. Spoke to a lot of people. Everyone like said, "Aki, you should do something. You're Egyptian. You have a big network, and why don't you just try?" And I was like, "Yeah, you know what? Let me just see how it goes." And there wasn't a real plan. We did like a small cleanup, and I helped fund or donate or raise donations for some smaller organizations and communities. But I felt this wasn't enough. So last year I decided, you know what? Let me just make it a bigger project. There's actually a lot of smaller organizations that are doing it, but mainly like in little villages or in Cairo. But that just I feel that's not enough. You need to think like bigger, global, continental, not only Egypt. I think the biggest issue definitely is in Egypt, um, but it needs to be eventually on a governmental level where we're all communicating with each other. And in February, actually, 2025, we're gonna hopefully work on our first very big cleanup. We've been working on this in the back end for the last 6 months, and since August, very closely with the team. And we spoke to the Minister of Tourism, of Environment, and things are moving forward. I'd say definitely way slower than expected. I've also helped like little islands in Luxor and Aswan as well with some funding, seeing how they can fix it locally. But the end goal would definitely be on a very continuous basis, cleanups, but trying to prevent it from going into the river, obviously. So the Nile cleanup is more than just a cleanup, because it's actually very important that we work on the consciousness of the people. The more conscious people are, the more they can actually, um, yeah, the more they can actually recycle the trash. Maybe not them, but have someone work with them, or pick it up, and on a governmental level, like improve the whole waste management. Um, yeah, how to say,
Process.
man, there's so much that needs to be done. So sorry, there's so many things running through my mind because I'm going back in.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah, of
I've
course.
been in villages where I've seen a woman just take out the trash can in her hands and throw it on the street. This was maybe not even 20, 50 meters from the Nile River. And I saw all this trash flying also into the Nile River. And
Surreal.
I'm talking like this is just a little bit, this is not the major issue of pollution. But the way that she thinks, that's the major issue. The way that she can't throw away the trash, first of all. And the second thing is that she's just throwing it on the street. So there's no centralized point. There's no pickup. There's no government or local organization
Structure. Yeah.
that is helping with the waste management. And with here, like I walk outside my home in Amsterdam, and on the next corner there's a big trash bin underneath on the ground, and we just put it in there and it's done. They pick it up like twice a week or something.
Yeah.
And I think in most European countries it's really been done well. But yeah, in a way, like in most African countries, it is really hard because the infrastructure is finally improving after all these years. We just never had the same infrastructure that we've been having here for over a decade in Holland or in Germany, or even I think the majority of the trash pollution here, even before, I think during the Second World War or before, it was also a major crisis in Amsterdam, as far as I hear it from people. And only after the Second World War, things started improving. So I think in about 10 years' time, at least Cairo and Egypt will definitely be much changed, because I live in a for example, in an expat compound area in Cairo, and there, man, everything is as clean as I would say as Amsterdam. Man, it's as green as Amsterdam.
Maybe
It's
even better.
even probably even better. You're right, probably even
Yeah.
better. And I think this is like the most important thing is like there's possibilities, but just not in the old parts of town, not in the old villages where there is no proper infrastructure or roads or a close by factory that does recycling or waste management.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're getting there. We
Yeah, but
want
how
really
can
want
we
to
expect
improve.
it?
Sorry.
Sorry to interrupt you, but how can we expect it? People are still, they think about the food on the table on a daily basis, right?
Exactly.
Like the first time I was in India, it was like 13 years ago. Fuck, time flies.
Time flies.
And yeah, and that's when I realized it for the first time, right? That people, if they still have, food pyramid, if they still have to take care of that basic need to get food on their table, they're not
Hmm.
going to think about recycling. It's just normal, right? Like it doesn't make any sense, right? You cannot expect someone to start recycling before they know that they're fed for the next 2-3 months. But I think that that's one thing that you just said is very crucial. It's probably just that mindset, right? That understanding. Okay, where does that actually start?
Yeah. Again, like we worked out plans on education lab on also data. So it's very important. We get a lot of data from the trash, a recycle lab, and I think there's like a whole circle that we made that the things which is really important, and it's all connected to each other. So the data that we get from all the trash is really important for all the big corporations that we send back. Like, hey, this is so much percentage comes from PepsiCo, so much comes from Coca-Cola brands or whatever, right? But this is like part of the data. The recycled part is also like how much are we recycling per product? Like, is it aluminium? Is it like whatever product, like plastics. There's different types of plastics, and then actually one of the most important things is the education lab, because once we educate people, which in my opinion really starts at the schools, because the children, once they're conscious, they can actually tell their parents more and better, because at the end, as a parent, you have children, you want to be a better example for your children, right? But if the parents are uneducated, or don't have access to proper education, or just like, um, it's been like this forever, then for them it's the same way that you always be doing what you've been doing. But it's easier to teach the children at school how they should recycle or how they should treat trash than the parents at home, because most of these parents, first of all, how do you reach them? Second of all, is they think they know it better in many cases, and they're just mad. And as you say,
Yeah.
they have bigger fish to fry, man. They just want to have food on the table. And most people in these areas, they're actually, they just don't have much money. So it's not like, I'm not telling they're poor, but why would they care about um, recycling
Yeah,
if
and the
they're
neighbor.
working hard to bring food on the table,
No, I
right? So
get it.
for us, we live in a
Uh,
luxury, privileged life.
yeah, for sure. I
It's
always say
easy.
that, I think that the only way to change anything is to change ourselves first of all, and to, you know, handle and help the next generation, right? Just like you
Mhm.
said, it's impossible to change the existing, grown-ups. Just it's like we're running against a wall with this. So the next generation, I'm very hopeful, and then also helping people to change themselves. I think that's the way to go, right?
Yeah, I hope so. Like at the end of the day, it's the end goal is to clean the whole Nile River. We don't want to clean it on our own. We just want to be an organization in the end that supports a lot of other organizations, and definitely also do our own cleanups. But if we can help local communities with, yeah, that they do the job and they do the work and they control it, then why not? And I think like it's a very important thing that we work on it now, because in 10 years time there's going to be a major catastrophe otherwise in Africa. And there's no one that doesn't know the Nile River. Everyone knows Egypt, everyone knows the pyramids. So there's a big pride in doing this, and I think it actually, yeah, the goal is to make it the next big thing, the next big foundation. So yeah, we're working hard on it. There's a small team now in Egypt and also from elsewhere that are doing the research and working on things. Sorry, someone just called me. That I work on it daily. So yeah, we let's see how far we can get. But the most important thing is we're moving, and at least we hope to work on the conscience of the people.
Yeah. Is the concept to basically use these big nets and like these kind of these stoppages that float around and that collect the trash, or what's
No, because the major issue in Egypt, at least, is there's a lot of trash on the shoreline. So most of the trash you have to pick it up either by boat or by foot, like on the shoreline. In the north, definitely yes. So we've started looking into it, and I think in the next couple years we try to make it prevent it from going into the Mediterranean Sea for sure. But again, we want to make sure it doesn't get into the Nile River first. I think once we are able to prevent it from going to the Nile River, we don't have to have these nets. But these nets, we've been in touch with several other foundations that are already implementing the same strategy, and we've learned a lot. They're actually great inspiration and example for how we want to be, and I think this is for us also. The faster we learn, the more we can reach our goal and target.
beautiful? So I think you also like the law of reciprocity. Correct me if I'm wrong, but if what were like, why do you think it's so important to basically focus on giving and not expecting something in return, regardless of the time invested in the beginning?
Um, I think we're very privileged in life. So I was even talking with some friends, and like just the last couple of days, and saying, yeah, we have our conference in Bangkok next month, and I said to them, yeah, actually, I'm not looking forward for a long flight. It's like a 12-hour flight or 11 hours from Holland, and then someone's like, man, you're bitching for no reason, man. You can just go. You're going to Bangkok, and you know how many people can't just fly, let alone just fly whenever they want to or with their friends. And I realized once again, man, we're actually so privileged, especially in this industry. So we travel, let's say, two, three, five conferences a year. We have a good time. We eat at the best places in town. We can eat anything we want at any given time of the day, which is not very common for many people in the world. Let's say you want to eat a steak now or tonight, you go find a restaurant and eat a steak. You want to eat a burger, you'll find a burger. You want to eat pasta, you'll find pasta. The list is continuous, right? But living in Egypt and traveling a lot to a lot of countries, you know that for these people, it's not like this. And I realized, man, we all in Europe, or at least our circles, the people that you and me know, we live one of the most privileged lives in the world. Even though we don't belong to the 1% or 0.1% richest people in the world, we are very, very rich. Um, and I feel it's an obligation that we do things for people that can't, because we are lucky, we are chosen, we have become, or we are in a position that we can give back. I do realize myself that the more I donate, the more good I do, the more I earn, or the more it comes back, the more doors open in again magical ways as the universe works. So now it's not like I'm doing this only to open more doors, but I notice that the more I do give, the more I do good, the more good comes back. And this is also karma, as we talked about. Like in the end, I I feel like if you can do something, then why aren't you doing it? Um, like helping someone or doing something small out of charity or donating, it's the easiest thing to do, because a good deed can be done every single day. And once you're conscious of trying to do good deeds and trying to look around who needs help, and it can be as simple as, cliche it might sound, that you carry a bag for a grandma to her home, let's say. Just a simple example. You see your grandma, you see her carrying a bag, it's hard for her. You can always offer. If she says no, it's fine. At least you offered. But this is just in the simplest form. And I think that the most people, they aren't looking around to help people. They're only looking at themselves, how they can help themselves, and helping in a way that they're comfortable. But helping yourself isn't the most important thing always. If you help others, you actually help yourself because you feel more grateful. The more grateful you feel, the more you open your frequency and vibrations, as we talked about, to accepting more, and the more will come, because things come to those who give and who are open, like open-minded for it, who want to receive. But once you live a closed-minded life, that's when you're going to live a closed-minded world, and that's not when things come. And I think for me, the foundation is also to inspire other people and doing something and giving. Because I tell a lot of friends, I don't want you to donate to my foundation. I would love for you to donate to a foundation where you have more connection with. I'd love for them to donate, obviously, to my foundation. Don't get me wrong,
Hmm.
but it's so easy to do something for someone in your own country, in your own world. There's always someone that needs something. And my mom is a great example. She sometimes asks people, their friends, hey, do you know someone that needs help in the hospital, or something, that needs to pay a medical bill, or in Egypt, for example, or that needs clothes in Egypt? Are there poor people that are in need of something from Holland. And man, you should see my mother. She travels with bags of clothing for people who are in need in Holland. And I was like, Mom, you're bringing 2 bags of 23 kilos and you're only carrying 10 yourself. She's like, yeah, I don't need it, but these people, they really need it. And I can just wear a couple of clothing a day. But these people really need it. And I'm like, man, it's so beautiful. She washes the clothes, she irons it, she packs it, she knows everything. And then she's like, oh yeah, this is for you, this is for you, this. And I'm like, it's such a beautiful thing because in the end, they do need it more than we do. And it's this is just a simple example of giving. It's so easy to give to people in need instead of taking for the things that you want. Because taking, you have to think about what can I take. But to give, it's very easy to think about, oh, I can give something to someone. And I think we're all in especially in Europe, a very individualistic society, right? It's all about me climbing up the ladder, building a home, family, there's nothing wrong with it. More money, better car, nicer house, nicer clothes, whatever. And we're all the same. I'm not saying that I'm not like this at all, but in African countries and in more poorer countries in the world, there's much more a sense of we're all in it together. And again, I think this is actually, as we talked about at the beginning, like an hour ago, the biggest advantage is growing up in two different parts of the world, or let's say with different realities, different perceptions, and seeing the poor and the rich and experiencing um, different cultures or nationalities around you. And that's when you also notice, at least I noticed, I want to give back. Um, I don't want people to just donate to my foundation. I think it's not the most important thing. I think when you when someone when I inspire someone that to do something for their own cause or their own community or their own um, project, what they're connected with, that man, that's even a bigger win because this person might inspire two more other people, and then two more other people, and two more other people, and
Yeah.
it's a very simple snowball effect. And actually, in Islam, we have to donate 2.5% of what we earn every year. So let's say you make a certain amount of money, you deduct all your costs of living and all your bills and whatever, everything you deduct. And let's say you have left over a certain amount, but it's really about the leftover amount, deducting your rent, your mortgage, or whatever, just what you have left over. And from that part, you pay 2.5% for people in need. And this concept comes from just like in the Bible that you have to give back. There's always people that need more than that need something more than what you have, or really need to survive. And this is, I think, the part where I think we're it's an obligation, man. At the end of the day, if God wants, he can take it all away from you. I've experienced, and he can do it in a split second. Tomorrow, you can lose it all. You can lose your company. You can lose your wife. You can get into a fight with someone, and shit happens. So,
Sure.
in that sense, is I think we have to all be more grateful, and hence why I pray, and I pray not that I want more. I pray that I'm thankful for what I have. You
Mm.
know, I think it's really important to be so conscious about everything you have in life and that's the moment you become grateful. After that, it's like that you come in a position to give. But that's why I believe that at the end of the day, we don't. If you're not giving, you're actually not rich.
Yeah.
That's what I truly believe. If you're filthy rich and you're not helping the poor, man, you're a poor man,
Yeah, because
right?
yeah, of course, you touched upon success before with that one person. You know, maybe he's successful in a monetary sense, but I'm sure he's lacking on so many other levels. And I think we have to, speak more about this. That success isn't just monetary success, right? Like it's all that stuff that we just talked about as well. And so, let's not put these people on a pedestal just because they have money. But if they're working on all these fields and if they're successful in all these fields, okay, let's praise them, right? Like let's speak positively about them, but not just because they have 5 Lambos. That's not enough.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with it, but it's more like
No, that's not. It's not.
there's a different
But
level of
even
respect.
then, yeah. But even then, you can do so much, and how are the relationships, right? Like how are they treating their children, their spouse, if they have one, and that's all these different levels. But yeah, that's very beautiful. Yeah, I think that's a great ending, and I think you have to go. So, where can people find you if they wanna, follow you and stuff?
Yeah, they can find me on Instagram, Instagram Hamam. You can maybe put it down in
Yeah,
the
I'll tag
link.
it.
And also LinkedIn. I think that's the most the two things they're most active on. Stopped using Facebook actually for a pretty long time.
Okay.
I'm not sure if many people still use Facebook, but
Yeah, yeah,
Instagram
just for ads, probably.
just for ads. Yeah. Most of our friends just for ads.
Mm,
Yeah,
okay,
Instagram,
nice,
LinkedIn is perfect.
amazing, perfect. Thank you
Thank
for
you
your
so
time.
much, man.
Thank you for watching this episode to the end. If you got any value out of it, I'd love to invite you to, send it to a friend, leave a review or a thumbs up as well. This will help the channel a lot. I thank you for that. And I sincerely hope I'll see you on the next one.